Like and subscribe if you hate Karens. And comment down below what city and/or country you're watching from. I'd love to hear from you guys. All right, let's begin. All right, buckle up, buttercups, because you're about to hear the most ridiculous story to ever grace my ears, let alone escape my lips. Have you ever come home from a long day, visions of comfy socks and a cold beverage dancing in your head, only to walk into a scene straight out of a fever dream fueled by discount tequila and bad reality TV? Yummy. Either until last Tuesday, I, Bartholomew Bart Higgins, software engineer and possessor of a slightly above average backyard pool in the perfectly normal, if somewhat beige suburb of Meadowbrook Heights, had just clocked out of another soul-crushing day wrestling with buggy code. All I wanted was to de-stress, maybe do a few laps and work on my 10i. Pulled into my driveway humming along to some obscure 80s synth pop, and that's when I saw them, a woman, the embodiment of suburban entitlement, in a floral sundress and oversized sunglasses, was perched poolside, her son, bless his heart, a spindly kid who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, was splashing around in my pool, the one I pay good money to maintain, the one I diligently shock every week, the one that's surrounded by signs screaming private property. Now, I'm not usually one for confrontation. I generally prefer to avoid conflict, even if it means letting the supermarket bagger put the avocados under the canned beans, but this was too much. This was a blatant violation of my personal oasis, my sanctuary, my, well, you get the picture. So I did what any reasonable, slightly caffeine-deprived person would do. I screamed, get out of my pool. What do you think you're doing? I bellowed, channeling my inner drill sergeant. The woman's sunglasses perched precariously on her nose looked up at me with the kind of disdain usually reserved for week-old leftovers. Her face had this look that screams, excuse me, I have a coupon. Oh, relax, she drawled, her voice tripping with condescension. Little Timmy here just wanted to cool off. It's so hot out and you weren't using it. Little Timmy looked like he was about to melt from sheer awkwardness. He mumbled something about being sorry and started clambering out of the pool, dripping chlorine water all over my newly laid patio stones. She huffed, grabbed a ridiculously fluffy towel. Seriously, where did she get that thing? It looked like it was made of clouds, and wrapped it around little Timmy. This is where things started to get weird as they gathered their belongings, her phone glued to her ear. I heard her say in a sugary, sweet voice, yes, officer, I'm at 42 Oak Avenue. I'd like to report a disturbance. Disturbance? I was the disturbed one. I sputtered and stammered, trying to explain that they were trespassing, when she just waved her hand dismissively. He's being very aggressive, she cooed into the phone, her gaze fixed on me with the intensity of a laser beam. I fear for my safety and my son's. Now, I'm not going to lie, I was rattled. I'm a software engineer, not a criminal. I was standing on my own property, wearing a slightly stained I love coding t-shirt, and this woman was trying to paint me as some kind of violent maniac. I tried to reason with her, explaining that she was trespassing, that I just wanted them to leave, but she just kept talking into her phone, occasionally throwing me a withering glare. Yes, he's still here, she said, her voice rising in volume. He's making threatening gestures. He's even uttering racist remarks. I'm pretty sure the most offensive thing I'd said all day was that the office coffee tasted like burnt socks. I am not racist, and I think she may be trying to use her privilege against me. This woman was escalating the situation faster than a politician backpedaling on a campaign promise. I started pacing, running a hand through my already disheveled hair. This was bad, very bad. Within what felt like mere minutes, but was probably closer to 10, a police car screeched to a halt in front of my house. Two officers, looking like they'd been plucked straight from a bad cop movie, emerged. One was a hulking brute with a handlebar mustache that looked like it could double as a bird perch, and the other was a skinny, nervous-looking guy who kept adjusting his ill-fitting uniform. All right, what's going on here? The mustachioed officer barked, his voice sounding like gravel gargling with whiskey. The woman, now radiating an aura of smug satisfaction, pointed a perfectly manicured finger at me. This man, she declared, her voice trembling with faux indignation, attacked me and my son. He Wouldn't let us use his pool, and when I tried to reason with him, he became aggressive and started yelling racial slurs. The two officers exchanged a look. Handlebar Mustache narrowed his eyes at me, and Skinny Uniform started shuffling his feet nervously. I tried to explain my side of the story, how they were trespassing, how I just wanted them to leave, but Handlebar Mustache cut me off. Save it, he growled. We'll hear your story. Down at the station, he reached for his handcuffs, and that's when I started to panic. I was about to be arrested on my own property for what, being a victim of pool crashing suburban terrorism. I decided to stand my ground. I'm not going anywhere, I said, my voice shaking slightly. I haven't done anything wrong. You can't arrest me. Handlebar Mustache just smirked. Oh, we can't, he said, his eyes glinting menacingly. And we will. Resistance is futile. That's when I realized that something was seriously wrong. The way they were acting felt stage 2 on the nose, as if they were reading from a script written by someone who had only ever seen police officers on television. The whole situation rire of desperation and a distinct lack of competence. As Handlebar Mustache reached for my arm, I did the only thing I could think of. Wait a minute, I shouted, stalling for time. Can I see your badges? I want to make sure you're really police officers. Handlebar Mustache scoffed. You questioning our authority? He boomed, puffing out his chest. Just show me your badges, I insisted, trying to sound more confident. Then I felt he reluctantly pulled out a tarnished, poorly made metal star. It looked like something you'd win at a carnival game, not a legitimate badge of law enforcement. Skinny Uniform followed suit, his badge equally unconvincing. I squinted at them, trying to decipher the barely legible lettering. These look fake, I said, stating the obvious. The woman, her face now a mask of fury, shrieked, they're not fake, they're real. Officers, you're just trying to get out of trouble. But the doubt was already sown. I decided to push my luck. I want to see your identification and call Meadowbrook Police to verify they are real, I asked. Handlebar Mustache and Skinny Uniform exchanged a panicked glance. Handlebar Mustache suddenly had a coughing fit, which was obviously performed with great effort. It was starting to become clear to me what was actually transpiring. All right, that's enough, Handlebar Mustache said, his voice suddenly much less menacing. We don't have time for this, we're just going to leave. He and Skinny Uniform turned around and started to walk back to their car, their steps quickening with each stride. The woman, her face contorted with rage, started screaming at them. You can't leave, you have to arrest him. Do you know who I am? She yelled, her voice echoing through the quiet suburban street. They ignored her and piled into their car, screeching away from my house like they were fleeing a crime scene, which technically they were, as the fake police car disappeared down the street. I stood there dumbfounded. What had just happened? Had I just been punked? Was I on some kind of hidden camera show? The absurdity of the situation was almost too much to bear. I had to do something. Taking out my cell phone, I dialed 911. I'd like to report a crime, I said, my voice trembling with a mixture of shock and disbelief. I think I just had a run-in with some fake police officers. The real 911 operator, bless her calm professional voice, took my information and assured me that officers would be dispatched immediately. While I waited, I watched as the woman, now looking utterly defeated, tried to corral little Timmy, who was staring at the ground, seemingly wishing he could disappear. Within minutes, a real police car, complete with flashing lights and a siren that briefly shattered the suburban tranquility, pulled up to my house. 2 actual legitimate officers emerged, looking like they just stepped out of central casting for Law and Order. I explained the whole ridiculous story, from the pool crashing incident to the arrival of the fake cops. The officers listened intently, occasionally exchanging knowing glances. When I finished, the senior officer, a woman with a no-nonsense demeanor and a steely gaze, nodded grimly. We've had a few reports of something similar happening in the area, she said. Fake officers usually targeting homeowners with, shall we say, difficult neighbors. It was quite obvious they knew exactly who this person was. She turned to the woman, who was now trying to blend in with the nearest hydrangea bush. Mrs. is Eleanor Featherbottom. We need you to come with us to the station. There are some questions we need to ask you, Eleanor Featherbottom, because of course that was Her name started protesting, claiming she was being harassed, that she had done nothing wrong, that she was a victim, but the officers were having none of it. They calmly but firmly placed her in handcuffs and led her to the police car. She was not happy at all. As they were putting her in the back of the car, I heard her shout, "You haven't heard the last of this. I'm going to sue. I'm going to own this town." The officer just shook her head and closed the car door. She then turned to me. "We have to question you as well, but for now take your son home, Mrs. Featherbottom." Little Timmy, looking like he'd aged 10 years in the past hour, shuffled towards the police car. "Ma'am," one of the officers said to me, "do you know who those individuals were who pretended to be police officers?" I thought for a moment. "I have no idea," I said honestly. "I've never seen them before in my life." The officer nodded. "We have a pretty good idea who they are," she said. "Let's just say Mrs. Featherbottom has a reputation